What am I gonna say? Today, I am performing the D word on my 2022 Ram 3500. I'm just gonna say it. I'm deleting it because it's already put me in limp mode once at 2,400 kilometers. It has 7,000 kilometers on it now. I've had nothing but issues with the emission system, and I'm getting rid of it. So I'm gonna run you down kind of a quick rundown on how you do it. This video, I'm not gonna do like step by step, but kind of give you a good idea as to what you need to do if you wanna do this to your truck. Keep in mind, definitely if you live in the States, I probably just wouldn't do this. I'm in Canada. We're a little bit behind for our laws, so I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I just wanna do it. So I'm gonna try to do it quick because my new wheels are in and I wanna mount them. These are 24 by 14 American Force with 14.5 wide, 33-inch Terra Hunter XDs. And I'll put links in the description if you need exhaust and tuners and that kind of stuff. Should be able to help you out there. But anyways, like I said, this is a 2022 Cummins, and as of now, there's no way to tune the ECM. So what you have to do is you have to find a used ECM out of a 2019 up to 2021 6.7 Cummins. Basically, you just want to make sure it's this part number, the CM2450B. Now, my 2022 stock ECM also has the CM2450B, so but the software on it's different and it doesn't allow you to tune it. So when you get a used ECM like this one's out of a 2019, just make sure it is a CM2450B and you should be fine. Then what you have to do is you have to ship both the ECMs away. I can put a link down in the description. I shipped mine to CCS Tuning. You should be able to do that through Dirty Diesel Customs. I think you can pay for it and do it. So you ship them both ECMs. He'll take the stock data off your 2022 ECM or 23 ECM, put it on your donor ECM, ship them both back to you, then you put the donor ECM in your truck, and then you can tune it with EFI Live like normal. And for the tune, they're gonna need the VIN number of your truck, and then they're gonna need the SN number and the EC number off your donor ECM. So this is my stock ECM. I already put the donor one in the truck, but so I gave them the numbers off the donor ECM. So the VIN number off the truck, and then the SN and EC number off the ECM that you put in the truck. Now removing the ECM is a little tricky. I ended up taking my intake elbow off and pulled the ECM up through here. There's a bunch of wiring harnesses. I just kind of tried to unclip them as much as I could. I even unplugged this fuel pressure regulator on my injection pump, and I pulled the ECM up out of the engine bay like that. There's 4 bolts that hold the ECM against the truck, and then you have 2 bolts here and 2 bolts here that kind of hold the connectors down, so that's what you have to remove. So I've already shipped my ECM away, and I got them back here, so I'm going to reinstall the ECM and I'm going to tune it, and then we're going to perform the physical removal of the parts. Make sure when you remove your ECM that you disconnect the negative battery cables though. You got to make sure that you have no power to it when you disconnect and unplug the ECM. ECM is back tucked in there. It's not easy to get in there, but if you kind of turn it 90 degrees, slide it in there, and then you can rotate it back the way it goes. It does work. It just kind of wants to hit this power steering line and stuff, so you just kind of try to get in there gently. But anyways, I'm going to put this intake elbow back in, and then we're going to go ahead and program the truck. Intake horn is back in. The only thing that is unplugged is this EGR valve, which we're getting rid of anyways, so that would be this plug. I left it unplugged. Throttle valve is down here, this plug. We don't need that anymore either. And this is just like a temperature sensor or something. So those are staying unplugged. And this pipe here that goes to the EGR valve is gone. Other than that, it's all back together the way it should be. So I should be able to program it now. I just didn't want to throw any funky engine lights. It will throw engine lights for those emission components we have removed, but the tune will take care of it. So I'm just going to hook up the negatives back up, and we're going to tune this thing to make sure that goes well. Personally, I always tune the truck first, just in case you have any issues with the tune. At least you don't have the truck completely ripped apart, and you wouldn't have to put all that stuff back on. So yeah, I'm going to tune it now. As long as that goes good, we'll start removing the components. So I'm tuning through a laptop, but you'll probably just have one of these, but you'll probably get a newer AutoCal. This one's like the older version. But there'll be instructions whenever you buy one if you get one. You also need this unlock cable. I think it's called SGM cable or fish cable. This end, it's obviously going to plug into your OBD, and then you plug the EFI Live into this OBD plug here. And then this end here. Then this end here will plug in up under the dash. On a 2019 up truck, the 2-pin connector plugs into the black-green SGW box under steering wheel to the upper left-hand side It's well hidden. Use the 5th row down. I'll try to show you. It's going to be hard to see. Basically, if you can see those boxes, you see the one on the right. We want the one on the left. It's kind of behind this cable right up there. And you're going to use the 5th one down from the top. That SGW box is different on this 2022 Cummins compared to anything I've seen before. It actually has 2 rows, and I just picked one of the rows with an empty one and just plugged into an empty one, so we're going to try it. I don't think it has to be the 5th one down because the 5th one down in this truck is actually used by something else. So yeah, just find that black-green box. It's like kind of up here and towards the left side along this panel, kind of up in there. So I just plugged into a random empty one, and we'll see if it works. Okay, I just licensed the controller. If you see here on the dash, my P on park is kind of flashing, and these other ones were kind of flickering on and off too, like the RND. Hopefully that's just because I'm tied up to it with a tuner right now, but we'll see what happens and if this tune works or not. I just had a little mini kind of heart attack. Yeah, I don't know if you can still see it, but there's smoke coming up out of here. I smelled smoke. And so I looked and there was smoke coming up out of here, so I panicked and shut it off, which you're not supposed to do. But now in hindsight, I'm realizing that it's just my grid heater more than likely running. And because I don't have the EGR valve on right now, I can actually see the smoke coming up. Yeah, I panicked there. I smelled burning, and then I saw smoke coming from the engine. I'm like, what the heck? So I just shut it off. It had just started, so hopefully we're okay. It should be fine. There, let's try this again. So far, so good. We're about halfway done programming. It's been going for 5 minutes. It says about another 5 minutes left.
3, 2, 1.
Come on, come on, come on. I want to see it say script finished successfully. Oh, script finished successfully. Okay, so it should have worked. I'm gonna unplug the tuner from it, my computer, and then I'm just gonna try to fire it up, just make sure it turns over and starts, and then I'll just shut it down right away. I'm gonna try to show you again which plug I used. Let's see if you can see up in there. Basically, see the box on the right side, you see it's green and the bottom of it's white, but then on the left side there, it's green, but then the bottom of it's black. So I plugged into that one, and I'm about halfway up in the middle. There was an empty one, and that's where I plugged into. All right, the moment of truth. We'll see what happens. My Prindle isn't flashing, which is good. Well, let's see if it starts. Well, that's exciting. And there's no engine lights. Think we have a winner. And yeah, there's no engine lights, which is a good sign because we got this unplugged, we got the EGR valve unplugged, and the throttle valve unplugged down there. So that should definitely throw an engine light if the tune didn't work. So I'm excited. I was really stressed out about that part. This is the first time I've done this. So yeah, I'm excited that went well. Now I can start moving stuff. I should mention for exhaust, I got a 5-inch straight pipe, flo-pro 690 NM for no muffler. And I got a flo-pro EGR delete. 218,000 is the part number. So if you live in the States, you probably won't be able to get flo-pro, but there are links in my description there if you live in the States to get other company exhaust and EGR blocker plate kits that are just as good. So just a quick rundown with what we're doing. We're gonna be scraping these gaskets off for this kit. Some of them reuse them, but we're gonna be putting a blocker plate on there. This pipe, if you already took it out, if you didn't, there is an 8mm bolt right here that's kind of tricky to get at. So if you can't figure out why yours is coming out or it isn't coming out, probably that bolt you're missing. And then you just start ripping off all of this stuff. This is just your EGR cooler and everything else that goes with it. So I usually take this bracket off, take this little heat shield off down here, and then you can take this off, unbolt this other valve here, unplug it, remove it. And yeah, you basically just start removing everything. So I'm going to start removing everything, and if there's stuff that's a little bit tricky, I'll make a point of showing you in the video. But yeah, other than that, pretty self-explanatory. You just want to get rid of all this stuff off your truck. Basically at the end, you'll just see the exhaust manifold. So that's what we're shooting for, is just seeing the exhaust manifold. And I don't drain coolant on these because the EGR cooler is kind of like the top of the coolant line. So when you pop it off, a little bit of coolant will spill. but then you just pull the EGR cooler out and it's not going to dump out all your antifreeze. So I don't waste my time draining it personally. You can if you want to, but I don't. I'll also put a little link up here for a more in-depth EGR removal video. It's on a 4th gen 6.7 Cummins, but they are very, very similar to these 5th gen. So if you want, you can give that a view, and that'll basically show you exactly what to do. There's just a couple things that are like a tiny bit different, but you should be able to figure it out. All right, I got a few things off, so I just pull this thing out like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this V-band clamp, and then I'm going to remove this nut, and then this nut I use a wrench, and I put the wrench here, and then I try to use a pry bar and kind of pry the wrench over to loosen it, but that's how I get that bolt. And then I take this off. Once that's off, then you can basically remove this pipe or this hose that goes to the turbo, put it out of the way, unplug this to get it out of the way, and there's 4 10mm bolts, and then there's 2 15mm bolts at the back to remove. And we'll also remove this. I'll show you when we get to it. We're gonna cut this a little bit just so that's easier to remove the EGR cooler. Okay, I put the blocker plate on the intake elbow and the blocker plate on the exhaust manifold. I always put the blocker plates on as I go along just because I don't want to drop anything in there. Make sure you reuse the gasket or have a gasket if your kit comes with one. I don't know, but you gotta have a gasket. Now I just want to show you these, just these connectors, because they have they're like triple locked right now. They have the normal push tab with your thumb here, and then they have this either a red or a clear locking tab, and then they have this black one. So this black one, I just kind of pop it off. There we go. Then on the back side here, you kind of push this little lock tab up and then press it out like that. So now this tab is out, and then you can just use your thumb and remove it like normal. So they're kind of like a triple lock. They're stupid. I never put those black things back on. I don't even push these tabs back in. I just go like this until you hear it click, just like that. Now it's on there. So I don't know why they need any more locks than that. But yeah, just in case you're wondering. But I usually pop this off so I can get it off to the side, and then I'm going to take this hose clamp off and bring this off and just kind of tuck it up underneath there to get it out of the way. And then I'm going to leave this one plugged in, but I'm going to take this 7mm bolt out, and I'm going to pop this thing out of the way and just get it off to the side because we're going to trim this bracket a little bit. Okay, I got this hose off, and I took this sensor out there, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these tin snips, and I'm going to cut like here, just kind of like this, and then back here, and kind of just cut this piece off. I'll trim it up and make it look a little bit nicer, but basically what I'm doing is I'm giving it room so that I can just pop this tube straight up so I don't have to remove all of this stuff off the valve cover to get it up. So yeah, if you just kind of cut that a little bit, just make sure you don't damage this part here where that sensor goes into, or this screw hole. But yeah, if you just trim that like I did, that's what I do, and then you can pop this coolant line up when the time comes. Another quick thing to note is it's always good to open up your coolant reservoir, just relieve the pressure off of it before you pop your EGR cooler off, because if your truck is warm and there's some pressure on it, when you pop this hose off, it's going to spray coolant everywhere. So relieve the pressure off it, and then yeah, we can go ahead after you've trimmed that. You can take 1, 2, 3, 4, those 10mm bolts out. You might have if you have a 68 RFE transmission, you'll have a bracket back or a dipstick. You have to pop that off first. And then, but yeah, once we get that, then there's 2 15mm bolts at the back that you're going to use a ratchet and get in there and loosen those guys. And then after that, we can pop this coolant line off here, lift it up, and then lift the whole EGR cooler up, push it back. I usually get a pry bar in right here, and I pry this off. I put a pry bar in down kind of like this, just in here, and then I push back and I pry the cooler off that way. Yeah, then we can pull this EGR cooler out of here. And if you're having trouble and you can't figure something out, ask in the comments, or better yet, follow me on Instagram at Dark Iron Diesel and shoot me a message, and I'll try my best to answer your questions. Okay, this is off. Remember, there is a little 10mm bolt right here that holds this bracket on. There's like 3 or 4 10mm bolts that kind of go in the side there that you gotta remove. But now we're gonna grab this pry bar, put it in here, and I'm just gonna pop it straight back, just like this. There we go. You see it's kind of leaking a little bit, but it doesn't leak much. Now, with this loose, we can just grab this EGR cooler and move it out of the truck. If you have that tranny dipstick for 68 RFE right here, it's a little bit more tricky. It's still easy, but you gotta just kind of try to hold that dipstick off to the side so you can pull this EGR cooler up and out of the truck. All right, once the EGR cooler is off, there's just that bracket that's got two 13mm bolts in it. You take those bolts off and the EGR bracket is gone. Now what I do here is this exhaust back pressure sensor. I just kind of gently bend it a little bit like that, maybe a little bit more. You're not really supposed to bend them, but we need it to be out of the way for this new coolant line. So just kind of like that. Yeah, now we're gonna hook up the coolant line that goes from here to there. Although I'm thinking now, the kit I got, I might need to bend this back and put it on the other side. I gotta remember where the bracket goes. I'll figure it out and I'll let you know. All right, your kit might be different, but mine has a bracket like this. So yeah, you actually kind of bend this over to the left side. I took off this little heat shield. Shouldn't really need it anymore anyways. But yeah, then you have to remove an exhaust manifold bolt and replace it with this one. Bolt it up here. I bolted up here. This back pressure sensor is not bolted up, but it's just going to stay there. It'll be totally fine. And so yeah, now we're just going to hook the hose up from here to here. And then that's pretty much it. We're going to have to hook this hose back up too when we're done, like so. And yeah, we're basically done the EGR delete. All right, it is all done. Remember to plug this thing back in, put this guy sensor back in. But that should be it. Your throttle valve, which is on the bottom, this is your throttle valve actually right there. So the plug is kind of in a pain in the ass place to get to, but you need to unplug that as well. So make sure that's unplugged. And then as for your sensors that are just kind of, you know, your open-ended plugs, I got this kit. It's called 2019 EFI kit by Shibby Plug Kit or whatever it's called. I don't know if this is just for the exhaust or if it's also for the EGR. Basically what they are is they're just dummy plugs. For every sensor you unplug, you can plug it in, and then it just keeps moisture and water and debris from getting in there. But I don't know if this is just for the exhaust, like I said. So I'm gonna do the exhaust now and use this Shibby Plug Kit. And then if I have leftover plugs, I'll use them up in the engine bay for the EGR. And if I don't have leftover plugs, I'll just tape them up with some electrical tape. All right, now the fun part that actually makes a difference. I got the truck on ramps now, so I'm gonna roll underneath it and show you what I'm gonna get up to here. Oh, I cannot wait to put these on. They're gonna look so good. Whew. So here's the tailpipe. I'm gonna go around this way. This is looking towards the front of the truck. Now basically, there's just little connectors like this all along, all the way down here. There's another one right there. There's some up here which you can't really see. So what I typically do, and okay, then there's more up here on top of this canister as well. And then where we're going to be unbolting it is there's a V-bend clamp right here at this flex pipe. That's where we're going to unbolt it and replace the exhaust from this flex pipe back, I believe is how we do it. Here you can see more. There's a connector up there. Def injector with a connector. So yeah, basically what I'm doing, I'm going to start at the back. I'm going to disconnect that clamp there. This clamp here, I'm going to remove the tailpipe. I usually spray some penetrating fluid on those exhaust hangers just so that you can pop them off with a pry bar better once they're lubed up. Then back here, we got 4 nuts, 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually I spray those with some penetrating fluid too so they come off easier. And then this hanger bracket here, there's 2 13mm bolts, one there and one there. And I take those out, and when I pull, that's going to come with this section. When I pull it, I'm just going to pull it off with that bracket on because there's not enough room to remove this pipe here, this canister. We can't remove it over this this cross member with that bracket in place. And then there's also a bracket up here, if you can see that. There's that one up there. I leave that one in place, but I do just use a pry bar and I pry that the rubber hanger right off. So basically what I do is I'm going to go and I'm going to unplug all the ones that I can access, and then I'm going to start removing the exhaust from the tailpipe and work my way forward. And then when I remove the the SCR and the DPF, I'm going to just have a pick and a little upholstery tool right nearby me, so as I kind of move it back, I can rotate it and I can gain access to those connectors and I can remove them, and then I'm going to drop the exhaust down. So yeah, basically it can be a little bit of pain in the ass, but what we're trying to accomplish here is we're going to try to unplug all the sensors and then just start removing the exhaust piece by piece, starting at the back, working your way to the front. That's all there is to this part. So I'm just going to leave you with that. I'm going to go ahead and do it, and then we'll bolt up the exhaust when we're done. All right, little tail sections right there, and then we have, I believe that's the DPF. This is the SCR. Not 100% sure, but yeah, there's the exhaust. And yeah, that front canister DPF, I believe, you bring it back this way. You kind of got to rotate it to the side, and then you can slide it out. As you can see, I took this hanger off but left the actual bracket there. This exhaust bracket I took with the exhaust. I unbolted it from the cross member. Yeah, here's the flex pipe, down pipe, which I think that's where I hooked my new exhaust up to. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think you do it right from the turbo way up there like you did on the older ones. I think you just do from the flex pipe. And then yeah, this is nice. This makes me happy. All these little connector caps just to plug everything off like that. Just so that there's even a little one here for the depth injector, so that's cool. Yeah, so the exhaust is all out. Now time to put the new one in. I'll just zip tie all those those harnesses and stuff, just kind of to the frame rail, just get them out of the way, and then I'll start putting the exhaust, which is back there. Put the exhaust on, and yeah, I still have a bunch of these connectors left, so I'm assuming some will work for the EGR, but I'm not going to need all of them, so it definitely gives you more than what you need. Maybe some are for if you remove the def tank. Maybe that's what some of these plugs are for. I'm not removing the def tank, I'm just leaving it in because there's no point in removing it in my opinion. But yeah, we're gonna get this 5-inch straight pipe exhaust on. So yeah, just looking at this exhaust here, I got some pieces set up. This is where the muffler would go because it's kind of beveled on both ends, but we're gonna do a straight pipe. And yeah, so I will start at the front and just work your way back, and then kind of once it's hanging there, I put the clamps on, and that's how I do it. All right, my light died, but I got this one. So there, it's bolted up there, and all the way down, it's all bolted up, looking nice. I'm actually a little bit impressed because this truck has a fifth wheel hitch, and a lot of times that fifth wheel hitch, when you put a 5-inch exhaust, the exhaust will hit the fifth wheel hitch bracket, and then you have to like heat it up and hit it with a hammer and just kind of bend it around so that it doesn't rattle. This one didn't, so it fit awesome. This is what it looks like from the back. It's like this, nice and solid. But we're not done yet. Dirty Diesel Customs hooked me up with a tip. I love their tips. Dirty Diesel. And here it is. It's a 6-inch tip. It's got dirty engraved in it. It's awesome. And I really like this style of tip where it's like thick, it's heavy, and it's like thick steel here. So I really like that. I just really like that look. I actually have the same type of style on this truck here. It's dirty, you can't tell, but this NBRP tip is like the same. So yeah, thanks to Dirty Diesel Customs for the tip. And for sure, if you live in Canada, you can get all this stuff from Dirty Diesel Customs. And for CCS tuning orders, use Dark Iron 5 in capital letters for 5% off. And in the States, Dirty Diesel will ship you tuners to the States, but they won't ship exhausts or EGR deletes or anything like that. So if you live in the States, you can still buy CCS tuning, use that discount code. Or you can just get everything from the Diesel Dudes, but I'll put a link down in the description, and if you use that link, then it helps me out. So yeah, we're gonna throw this tip on, and then let's see how it sounds. There it is. Looks awesome. I can't wait to see what this thing sounds like. I'm assuming it just sounds like 6.7 Cummins straight pipe, but I've never seen a 2022 deleted before, so I'm super pumped for this. So yeah, I'm gonna fire it up, and let me know what you think of the sound. don't know what that sounded like to you guys on the camera, but from the cab, it sounded mean. I am so pumped. I noticed that it had a decent amount of smoke there, which we don't want. We don't want smoke. But what I found with these Cummins is a lot of times they'll smoke when you rev them up at an idle, but driving they don't actually smoke with proper tuning, and the tunes I use are proper. So I don't like rolling coal. I mean, I do, but I don't do it anymore because I'm more respectful than that. But that's awesome. I'm gonna do a video driving this thing just because I've driven 7,000 kilometers on it, so I know what it was like before, and so I'm gonna be really interested in to see the difference that I notice now that the emissions are removed, and we'll check fuel mileage and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was just kind of a vague video. I'll put links in the description to a better EGR removal video and a better DPF removal video for these trucks. But I just wanted to go over the whole process start to finish on 2022 Cummins. Also, I should mention, this is a 75 horsepower street tune that I used. So I don't think I mentioned that before, but yeah, this is a 75 horsepower single tune. No trans tuning because it has the ASIN trans. If it had a 68 RFE, I would have got trans tuning as well. But anyways, check out my Instagram at Dark Iron Diesel. Check out the links below. I think that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for the next video where I drive this thing. And we got more stuff coming on the channel too, so like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. Anyways, I'm pumped. I'm gonna go bag drive this thing now. I'm excited. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next one.